called out your name. It was at that very moment I knew I would not be the same. You left me broken all alone, and now you will not pick up your phone. Did you think that would get me feeling down? No, that made me drive all around that old small town. Did you think I would drown in your pain? Hell to the no, let me explain. I drove up to that old dive bar on the corner of a new tomorrow. I thought I was going in to drink away my sorrows. Instead I danced the night away. Boom bopping, bar hopping, body rocking, foot stomping all night long. As you drove on by that old glowing neon sign, you see me walking in with someone new. You thought you left me broken and alone, waiting for me to pick up that damn phone. Did you think I would move on? It was a new day you left for me tomorrow. Hell to the no, let me explain. I drove up to that old dive bar on the corner of a new tomorrow. I thought I was going in to drink away my sorrows. Instead I danced the night away. Boom bopping, bar hopping, body rocking, foot stomping all night long. Instead I danced the night away. Boom bopping, bar hopping, body rocking, foot stomping all night long. Hell to the no, let me explain. I drove up to that old dive bar on the corner of a new tomorrow. I thought I was going in to drink away my sorrow. Instead I danced the night away. Boom bopping, bar hopping, body rocking, foot stomping all night long. Instead I danced the night away. Boom bopping, bar hopping, body rocking, foot stomping all night long.
Well, each individual handles things differently. What I can tell you is that in the last few years, TBI has established a program called TBI Cares. And the whole point is to check on our employees and agents when they're investigating different type of situations that could be hard. We have a peer support team that works across the state just to check in on an agent when we know that he or she has been dealing with a complex case. There's no easy way to deal with a situation like the Evelyn Boswell case, for instance. It's hard. We just try to be there for each other. Let others know that we are here. I'm part of the peer support team, so I try to make a conscious effort to reach out to agents who I notice may be struggling. So we just try to work together to get through it the best that we can. Also, along those same lines, when a case remains unsolved, like for instance, the Summer Wells case, that's extremely hard because there's nothing that we want more than to solve a case, especially involving a child. And it's hard not having the answers, or being close to maybe discovering something and just knowing that we just need a little bit more information to resolve a certain situation. So there's nothing better than seeing a case solved and seeing justice served. But at the same time, it's also extremely hard for those cases where we haven't seen justice served yet.
Right. Yeah, you mentioned Summer Wells, so I did want to ask any updates on that case from your perspective or from the TBI standpoint, or?
Well, I'm glad you asked. It is still an open and active investigation. I think most people think that the case has gone cold, but that's not true. We still have agents working on it constantly. Um, we follow up on any new information that comes in. I can say that we've been following up on information that we've received in the last few months.
I'm going to stop at right there. Information we've received in the last few months. They're telling you they're still working on this case. In the last few months, I've given information to them. Since February, it's been going on. So I'm hoping that that's what Leslie's talking about. I think it's important. I'm waiting for some chatters to come in. I feel like I need some support tonight. I want to go over this thoroughly. I feel like I could use a friend tonight. I want to tell people what's been going on in my life for the past 16 years, actually, with my husband, because he's cruel. He's extremely cruel. And he's being cruel now. He's always cruel. I'm trying to fix things to a point with us where we can get along and talk like adults, but it's not working. Instead, it's just hurt and pain. Hi, Minnie, Pearl. So I figured I'm just going to come out here tonight and tell my story and go over the Summer Wells stuff after. You see, I got with my husband when my two boys were 2 and 3 years old, not even 18 months old, 2 years old. They were only 18 months apart. It was in 2003. And at the time, I didn't want no more kids because I had Zach. My son had had the heart transplant. And life was extremely complicated for me. Hey, Lady Love. Hey, Raven Rose. Life was extremely complicated for me then. I was 22, 23 years old with a baby. First husband, it was a drug addict that didn't ever want to be home. And my plans, like my life felt bleak back then. My son was very, very sick, and I went through and seen things that I never imagined I would seen with my own children. And it caused me trauma and anxiety. And it's why I take anxiety meds today. But anyway, so Earl and I were friends. He was friends with my ex-husband first before I knew him. However, my ex-husband and I were broke up for almost 2 years at the time of Earl and I getting together. My ex-husband didn't talk to neither of us. But I told Earl at the beginning of my relationship with him that I didn't want kids. I already had 2 babies, and it was complicated, as I just explained. Earl decided to get me pregnant without my permission with my daughter. No, I'm not going to say it was a mistake, but I was extremely happy that I was going to have a little girl, and I thought that Earl and I would be together forever and ever in a day, and I trusted him with everything in me never to cheat on me because I had already been through so much. And I told him very honestly at the beginning of our relationship that I wouldn't deal with that shit and that it would hurt me. It would kill me if he ever did that because I just wasn't in a mental state for that. Fast forward, our daughter was like 5. And I catch my husband in the kitchen telling my daughter to go call your mom crazy. Call your mom a bitch. I hate your mom. He's standing at the sink doing dishes and saying that. So I'm the wife that never checks the emails or the Facebook. I just don't feel you build a strong connection doing that. But because he was doing that, I found shit odd. So I went and I checked his emails, and what I found was a ton of links for 2 years worth of links of him talking to other women. There were times he was not at work. He says he doesn't know where he was. He was at work, but I was calling the job and there was money missing from his paychecks. There was a time I caught him on my steps with my friend, making out with her, climbing up to my steps. There was a time a woman called my home and told me I need to check what my husband been doing and hung up on me. And I looked at my husband and said, they must be crazy. I trust you. For years, he kept all these secrets from me. I finally go check the email. I find all these emails to women, but I'm so upset. I go into the Dateline profile he was using and I delete it instead of look at it because my heart was crushed. It was broken. I forgave my husband immediately. And then we decided to have another baby immediately. Like I got pregnant within a week of catching him. My baby was full term, but I lived with the stress and anxiety and depression of my son passing away and me not understanding why my husband was telling many other women they were beautiful. And my son dies 26 minutes after birth. And I couldn't grieve it. Like my husband wouldn't allow me to grieve. If I cried, he had to cry louder or harder. Then I would start asking questions like, why did you do this to us? Why did you cheat on us? I felt like it caused us to have this baby. And the baby was unhealthy because my heart was unhealthy because I got very sick during my pregnancy from all the heartbreak. At least that's how it felt to me. My son was diagnosed with chorioamnitis, which is a infection from nurses putting dirty hands in you without gloves. However, it was a very rough labor, and I was traumatized by the labor. It was terrifying to me. I knew something was wrong immediately. They had to rush me in for the first C-section after having 3 other children. It is heartbreaking, lady love. And but I always had questions. I dealt with the trauma from it, you know? So I would ask my husband, like, why were them women more beautiful than me? And he can't answer me. How many women did you talk to? He can't answer me. Who was the one that called my house? He can't answer me. How many times did you talk to them? What did they say to you? What did you say back? Like just things I felt would help fix our situation. And his only answer to me ever was, I do not remember. I do not remember. I do not remember. This has gone on for 16 years. I've forgiven him, but there are times in our relationship, a few times a month, that I think about my son and I think about that period and I start to question my husband. And maybe it's a little bit much, but my husband still answers me with 0 answers. I catch my husband lying to me about things like the color of lid on milk, if a store had milk or not. He lies to me constantly, daily. Every morning, my husband never wakes up to me and smiles. He grumps and he complains about being here. Like he complains about being alive with me. He makes me feel unwanted. He doesn't talk to me. He sits in silence. He's very cold to me, it feels like. So all this YouTube stuff happens with Summer, and I catch my husband with my ex-brother-in-law doing backstabby things to me to get me off of YouTube. And then he's trying to 5150 me for my ex-brother-in-law to get me off of YouTube in Summer's case. And what my husband starts doing after all these years of me dealing with his cheating and his shit, what he starts to do is delete comments and stick up for them and tell them he's going to fake fight with them while I'm on the other line saying, ain't you going to say something to Bob? Like, dude's saying all kinds of crazy shit to me, and my husband's on there going, I'm going to fake fight with you. I tried 302ing her. There's the word killing in those text messages. So after a couple weeks, I decided I wanted to talk to him. Yesterday, or a couple days ago, I go to my daughter's house where he's staying with the mother. You know, he's living in a house with another woman. I don't know if they're doing nothing or not, but she's another woman and he's living in a home with another woman. But let's go back a couple weeks. I kicked him out over all of this because he wouldn't put my cameras up. He didn't want me to feel safe. And then I caught him taking my cameras down and trying to call Amazon before I got home one day and have Amazon pick them up. And he didn't want cameras on my home. He fought with me about it. And I don't know why he did that. And it confuses me. As a wife, you're supposed to feel protected by your husband at all costs. So then a couple weeks later, he's talking to my brother-in-law and they're doing sneaky shit behind my back, trying to get me off of YouTube and not to cover Summer's case and to put me into a hospital. And I don't know why my husband was acting against me instead of honoring his wedding vows and honoring me, his wife. He was working against me, in my opinion. Now, a couple weeks ago when I kicked him out, it was his birthday. And I felt bad and I called him and I asked him to come home and if we could work things out. He acted like he was with another woman. He lied to me and told me he was cutting cake at 11 o'clock at night with his parents. He was drunk. He told me he didn't love me and he never wanted to see me, and he hung up on me and shut his phone off. That made me go to the bar the next day. My head was fucked up. Like, what the fuck? I drank tequila at the bar. I haven't really drinking in 8 years. I had a couple drinks a couple times in the last 3 months because my head's a mess over everything going on. So I had a couple drinks in a couple of months, but I'm not a big drinker anymore. I used to be an alcoholic and it scares me. However, I went to the bar and I drank till I was blackout drunk. I brought a man home with me. I don't remember bringing that man home. My son says I didn't do nothing with that man. However, my son's 26-year-old friend apparently tried to assault me, and my son caught him. My husband told people I cheated on him. He's been calling me a whore. I didn't sleep with anybody at that point, okay? So then we come home and somebody from YouTube, or my brother-in-law, we found out, has been relentlessly calling DHS on my grandchildren. Even to the point that U.S. Marshals came to my home as a DHS complaint. That's why they're all getting busted now. Because you're not supposed to call the U.S. Marshals, and my ex-brother-in-law has that power to do that because he works for the government in a pretty high position. So we find out it's him calling the U.S. Marshals and all kinds of crazy shit to my house. And instead of my husband taking my side when they start attacking me on YouTube, he joins them. He's now deleting messages he's writing between them. He's telling them that he's fake fighting with them and that I want him to stick up for me, but he's not going to do that. And that he's tried to 302 me several times and they won't take me because the hospital don't think I'm crazy. They believe me. But my husband continues to go do this. But my daughter-in-law thinks that it's me calling DHS on her because my husband led her to believe that. After I fall at the bar, knock a tooth out, bring a guy home, I'm almost SA'd by a young kid. After all of that, my husband's writing these people. I tell him I no longer trust him and want to be in the room with him. The police are coming to our house every day because we're fighting horribly. Fist fighting. He's hitting me. I'm hitting him. He's jabbing me in my ribs. We're in the middle of it's just so bad. I've never been in a relationship like this in my life, but yet here I am today trying to fix this with my husband, and he can't even acknowledge anything he has done to me, and all he does is say things like he expects me to apologize to him and I'm a horrible whore, and it's really fucking with me mentally because we got grandbabies and we got kids. And I feel like he's the devil to me right now. And I feel like I need to get that out because he left and I have nobody to talk to. So I reach out to this guy, John, who's a friend of mine. Okay, we messed around, but it's only after my husband pushes me away, blocks me, silences me, slams doors in my face, works against me with other people, cheats on me, but he's demanding answers from me that he's never been willing to give me in his case. And he doesn't see the wrong in that. And it's really making me mentally not feel good. Do I feel like killing myself? No. Do I feel like harming nobody? No. But the pain is real. The grief is real. When your husband doesn't want to hear you cry about your dead baby for 16 years, there's a problem. It hurts. It hurts bad. And he doesn't realize that he has pushed me away. And it almost feels like he's working with people against me to hurt me, as if he's my enemy. And he doesn't see any fault with that. But I want my fan base to know here, I'm here to cover Summer Wells. She's an innocent child. And I'm not going anywhere because of him. And I'm not going to let him bully me off of YouTube and treat me like shit any longer for another day in my life. He has a right to come up here and defend himself just like everybody else does. But because he was writing my brother-in-law where it concerned Summer's case and other cases against me, it bothers me and it makes me not trust him. And he doesn't see the harm in that. My face was beat up because my daughter-in-law beat my face in. I fell on garbage in their room and was cornered. And my husband sat there. He tried once to get my son off of me, but by the time I got up off the floor, his arms were crossed and he was smiling with a grin on his face. He never once touched my face and said, "Oh my God, that looks so bad." He never cared about the assault that somebody tried to do on me. Instead, he called me a whore. Earl, I hate to break it to you, but this is your fault. And now I'm going to let public opinion take over because you messed around in Summer's case on my channel. And that's the honest to God's truth. You did things against me and you don't see no wrong in it. You have no sorrow, no empathy, no compassion. All you have is blame and fault when you have been for 16, 18 years, because it went on for 2 years before I found out. You have been unsorrowful and silent and lied to me all this time, and I have forgiven you. You're the whore. Do you understand that? You're a pig. And I'm going to let public opinion go ahead and say what they want. You're a jerk. Right now, you're evil to me. It's emotional abuse, what you have done to me over all these years. Not to mention the physical abuse that goes on between the both of us because of your lies and the way you hurt. It's not healthy. It's over. Please understand that. This is done. I'm no longer responding to your ignorance in your text messages and your silence. I tried. I don't know what more to say, and I think that my audience has a right to know about the games you've played in Summer's case on my channel. Summer's an innocent child, and these are my family members I believe were involved. It's only my opinion. I don't know that for sure. Leslie Earhart will tell us. But Leslie Earhart is, well, I'm going to move on now. Leslie Earhart's also going to tell us about some new details in the Summers case that she can't talk about, in Summer Will's case. So I just want to give you guys a listen, and then I'm going to jump off because I'm not feeling good right now mentally, and I'm really trying to take a break from YouTube to get through whatever it is I'm getting through and understand why my own husband would be out to work against me and hurt me and call me names and not understand my pain out of anything that's gone wrong over all these years, and then continue to want to hurt me on purpose. Okay, let me start this over. I'm just going to let you guys listen to what I thought was important in this, and then I'm just going to get off. I really don't have no more to say, so let me say peace and love now. Thank you to the subs that support me, and I hope that soon I can come back and be okay and get through my life problems, because it hurts bad.
Well, each individual handles things differently. What I can tell you is that in the last few years, TBI has established a program called TBI Cares. And the whole point is to check on our employees and agents when they're investigating different type of situations that could be hard. We have a peer support team that works across the state just to check in on an agent when we know that he or she has been dealing with a complex case. There's no easy way to deal with a situation like the Evelyn Boswell case, for instance. It's hard. We just try to be there for each other. Let others know that we are here. I'm part of the peer support team, so I try to make a conscious effort to reach out to agents who I notice may be struggling. So we just try to work together to get through it the best that we can. Also, along those same lines, when a case remains unsolved, like for instance, the Summer Wells case, that's extremely hard because there's nothing that we want more than to solve a case, especially involving a child. And it's hard not having the answers, or being close to maybe discovering something and just knowing that we just need a little bit more information to resolve a certain situation. So there's nothing better than seeing a case solved and seeing justice served. But at the same time, it's also extremely hard for those cases where we haven't seen justice served yet.
Right. Yeah, you mentioned Summer Wells, so I did want to ask any updates on that case from your perspective or from the TBI standpoint.
Well, I'm glad you asked. It is still an open and active investigation. I think most people think that the case has gone cold, but that's not true. We still have agents working on it constantly. We follow up on any new information that comes in. I can say that we've been following up on information that we've received in the last few months. So it is very much an active investigation, and we will not give up.
Yeah. Well, that's great to hear. And speaking of tips and things that you all get to help with your cases, how can the public provide tips and feedback to you all?
Anyone that has information, they can call, of course, the TBI Find number. You see that everywhere. It's 1-800-TBI Find. Or they could submit tips via email to tips2tbi@tbi.tn.gov. Individuals can remain anonymous. We take that very seriously. We also encourage the public to download. We have the TBI Find app, and they can download that not only to stay up on active alerts, but also they're able to submit information and provide information about themselves or a loved one should they be in a situation where they go missing.
Mhm.
So we encourage the public to download that app and to submit any information that they may have about an active and ongoing investigation. I think that one misconception is that the TBI can just swoop in and take over an investigation. We kind of touched on that. That's not the case. In a lot of situations, for instance, homicides, officer-involved shootings, fraud cases, we have to receive a request from the district attorney general in order to get involved. Now that there are cases that we can start on our own, we have original jurisdiction to investigate drug cases, arson investigations, human trafficking, those types of cases, we can start an investigation on our own. But we can't, let's say someone's not happy with how their local agency is investigating a certain situation. We don't have the authority under state law just to step in and take over the case.
Okay, yeah. So what types of issues that are, job related keep you up at night? What causes you the most stress in your role as a TBI spokeswoman?
I think, a lot of the same things that our agents deal with, those cases, they don't necessarily have to be high profile cases, but those cases involving children or the elderly that aren't necessarily solved immediately. And even if they are solved, just knowing what an individual goes through. I think it's hard to be in this position or any position within law enforcement and condition yourself not to feel emotions that innocent victims feel. So that it's really difficult sometimes to, I guess, shake it off and just try to go about your daily life when you've dealt with a particularly heinous type case or a situation, as I previously mentioned, where a child has gone missing and they've not yet been found. So that's what bothers me most. That's what stresses me out. I always want to try my best to relay the information that I'm able to. Per state law, I hope that I articulate the information that the public needs to know to help us with investigation. So those are all the things that I worry about.
Yeah,